In this episode of the Happy Diabetic Kitchen, it's all about the type 2 diabetes revolution, an amazing cookbook and complete guide to managing type 2 diabetes, written by my friends Diana Licalzi and Jose Tejero. It's an amazing guide that can help anyone living with type 2 diabetes live their best happy diabetic life. Stay tuned, everybody. We will be right back. Hello, everyone. I am Chef Robert Lewis, the Happy Diabetic, and welcome to the internet's most delicious cooking podcast. I'm here in the kitchen getting ready to explore a healthy diabetic lifestyle. I want to take the mystery out of healthy cooking and explore some amazing foods and my diabetic journey with all my successes and my challenges. Let me help you live your best happy diabetic lifestyle. So welcome to the kitchen, and if you're new to the show, I am so happy you're here today. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the kitchen. In today's episode, we've got my good friends, Diana and Jose, authors of the Type 2 Diabetes Revolution, a brand new book showing people how to live their best happy diabetic lifestyle. This is our last episode of the month of December. Kind of let's celebrate all the holidays, feel the love and the joy. Let's bring light into the world, not heat. And except, of course, if you're cooking, we need lots of heat for that. So we've got a really great episode. The interview is amazing. So thank you for being here. Stay tuned. We will be right back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Happy Diabetic Kitchen podcast. And I don't know what to tell you. We've got some amazing folks that I would like to introduce you to. These are two folks that I've met who have got an amazing cookbook just released. So before we get started, I just need to ask Diana and Jose, are you guys ready to get happy?
Let's do it, Robert. So happy.
Absolutely. Let's do
Awesome,
it.
awesome. Well, Diana is a nationally recognized registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator. She holds a master's in nutrition science and policy from Tufts Friedman School of Nutrition. And I thought this was cool. After working at Major League Baseball for over 3 years, she decided to pivot and turn her career around and pursue nutrition. Jose is also here on the podcast. He's a plant-based certified health coach, exercise physiologist, holds a bachelor's degree in exercise science from the University of Maryland. His mother loves him very much. So, hey guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having us, Robert. That was a great introduction.
So why don't you fill in the blanks? Maybe you want to add something I didn't say about yourself, and just so all the happy diabetics out there are getting to know you better.
Sure. Yeah, I could start. So, like you said, I actually started my career in Major League Baseball. I was actually a communications major in college, and I worked there for about 3.5 years. And I had always been super passionate about nutrition, and I decided to pivot completely and go back to school and become a registered dietitian. And I absolutely loved it. And I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I became a dietitian. And I knew once I became a dietitian and I learned about how much of an impact nutrition has on diabetes specifically, not only in the prevention of it, but also in the treatment of it, I really wanted to focus my career specifically on diabetes, especially because I saw so many of my family members struggle with it. It runs in my family, type 2 diabetes. And so unfortunately, I have seen my family members struggle with this illness. And so I decided to dedicate my career to type 2 diabetes specifically. And I've worked in different healthcare settings. I've done some inpatient, some outpatient. And it was during my time in the healthcare setting that I realized how little care and education and time was really spent with people with diabetes. Like, for example, I worked at a community hospital in Boston, and I really only was able to see my clients every 3 to 4 months for 20 to 30 minutes at a time, for my follow-up appointments. And it was just really hard to help people make lifestyle changes, true lifestyle changes, when you're seeing a person so infrequently. And so I decided to kind of
Mhm.
pivot and start my own private practice, and I did that for a few years. I was seeing people one on one, and I really enjoyed that. But given how many people have diabetes, I still felt a little limited. So I did turn to social media, which so many people do nowadays, and I started educating on social media, on Instagram, and that's how I met Jose. And we joined forces and created Type 2 Diabetes Revolution, which is our platform. And we've just continued to grow. And now we have this book that just came out. But that's kind of how I met Jose, was through Instagram, and I'll let him take it from here.
Great, great. Well, thank you, Diana. Like you mentioned, Robert, I am an exercise physiologist with a degree in exercise science. And for the last 8 years, I've been helping people change their lifestyles to improve their quality of life. But in order to tell you how I got started with type 2 diabetes and more specifically plant-based nutrition, I have to take you back to right after school, where I needed to get some exposure to the medical field. I needed to get an internship. And I ended up working for two physicians that practiced lifestyle medicine. For those of you that are hearing and don't know what that is, lifestyle medicine is a real branch of medicine that many doctors are getting board certified on nowadays. And the premise behind it is that it empowers physicians to teach their patients how to follow a more plant-based, whole food predominant lifestyle in order to prevent and even reverse metabolic conditions like type 2 diabetes, like high cholesterol, hypertension, elevated liver enzymes, which are an indication of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and so on. So it's during my time in this practice working for these two doctors that I got exposed to the power that nutrition has on somebody's health. So I was seeing patients with full-blown type 2 diabetes, A1Cs in the high 10s, 11, 12, fasting blood glucose in the high 300s, being able to reverse this condition and bring back their biomarkers to normal ranges, like nothing had happened within 3, 4 months. And that is the moment that I was truly mind blown, because in Western schools, we are taught that type 2 diabetes is a chronic progressive disease that is always just going to get worse and worse and worse. So truly seeing these patients being able to reverse this condition, not just once, but patient after patient, patient after patient, that is something that truly inspired me. And that is where I had an aha moment that I truly needed to spread this information to even more people, right? So like Diana mentioned, I turned to social media as well, and I started posting information about how to follow this plant-based whole food approach that I just learned about, how to exercise more, how to increase your physical movement. I started posting about insulin resistance, the root cause of this condition, so people truly understood what is going on when they have pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. And this account started growing and growing. And just like Diana mentioned, that is how we crossed paths. And then one day we met over Zoom, and she was like, "Hey, I'm a dietitian. You're an exercise physiologist." That is the type of knowledge that people need in order to reverse a metabolic condition, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to join forces. We became the dynamic duo of type 2 diabetes. And, fast forward now 4 years since that moment, and we have over 500,000 followers in our social media accounts. And just recently, last year, we were presented with this opportunity to write the Type 2 Diabetes Revolution, which just got published last month. So we hope to now reach millions of people with this solution to the root cause of type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And those looking for advice, my first recommendation is find yourself a certified registered dietitian that can help you to understand the food component and not your doctor,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they have limited knowledge. So I think that the work that you're doing is absolutely amazing. So tell us about your newest book, Diabetes Revolution. What do you want us to know about it?
Yeah.
I mean, and let me just also say, it's not only a cookbook, it's almost like a manual
Yeah.
for lifestyle living.
Exactly. And that's what we wanted to get across with this book. We didn't want it to just be another cookbook because honestly, there's so many cookbooks out there. If you look on Amazon,
Hmm.
there's hundreds of diabetes cookbooks. So we
Yep.
wanted to differentiate this book by including a lot of good information in the beginning. So it's not just a cookbook, but it's also a guide. So the first few chapters are all about teaching people and educating people about what diabetes is, why and how it can develop, and how nutrition plays such an important role in the treatment and prevention of it. So we really wanted just to explain that as easily as we could because a lot of people don't get that information when they go to the doctor's office. A lot of times they're given a pamphlet and told to kind of just start medications and go on their way. And we wanted to really teach people as best we could and share our method that has helped. We've helped thousands of people up to date to today, and we wanted to share what we've done and why it works so well, and then also provide the recipes too, so that people can actually put it to use, right? They can actually do the work as well.
Right.
And let me tell you real quick about the name, the type 2 diabetes revolution. We named it this because we are revolting against the old paradigm that people living with type 2 diabetes have been led to believe. That paradigm that tells them that this is going to be a chronic progressive disease that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. That paradigm that tells them that they have to be on medication after medication after medication and eventually end up on insulin. That paradigm that tells them that they have to be afraid of all carbohydrates, which we know that is not true. So we're breaking that paradigm with this book, The Type 2 Diabetes Revolution.
Yeah. I love the word revolution because it's changing. You know, it's not a revolt, it's a revolution. I just absolutely love that. So, in your cookbook, you advocate for a plant based diet, but you're not recommending that folks become strictly vegan or vegetarian. Can you say more about your 80/20 plan? I think that's what you call it.
Yeah, we call it 80/20 plan because we want to give people flexibility. We want to show people that it doesn't need to be an all or nothing approach. You don't need to become 100% plant-based to achieve really great results. And we have people come to us all the time who don't want to go 100% plant-based. And we want them to know that that's totally okay. But if we can incorporate more plant-based proteins, more of these plant-based meals, you are going to see tremendous results, not only is there a ton of scientific evidence to show that this dietary pattern is very effective at not only diabetes, but a lot of other chronic illnesses. So, not only is there so much scientific evidence to show that this dietary pattern is so successful for managing type 2 diabetes and treating type 2 diabetes, but it also has shown to, I mean, we've seen it in our own practice, right? So we have helped hundreds, if not thousands of people now by helping them adopt more of this plant-based dietary approach. And they've seen such great results. They've been able to completely get off their diabetes medications. We've seen people go from glucose levels of like 200s, 300s into the normal range. So we know we've seen it firsthand that this dietary pattern is very effective. But again, like we don't want to scare people off and tell them they need to be 100% plant-based. So we feel like this 80/20 dietary pattern offers some of that wiggle room so that it can be more of a sustainable way of eating and living.
Mhm. Makes sense. So I'm a chef, right? So in addition to nutrition, I care a lot about how food looks and tastes. So my message to my followers has always been this: to reduce the salt, fat, sugar in foods that you need, and kick up the flavor by using ingredients with high flavor impact. First of all, do you agree with that statement?
100%. You're saying reduce the saturated fat intake of your daily meals, reduce refined carbohydrates, increase your fiber, and increase the flavor of your meals with herbs and spices. That's fantastic. That's what we stand
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah. And can you share maybe some examples of that in your cookbook? You know, is there a recipe that comes to mind where it might seem a little different, but you've done that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have one in my mind, and I actually have the book open in front of me on my favorite recipe, which is the stuffed peppers with lentils. So traditionally, these stuffed bell peppers would have beef inside, and some people would top it off with, sour cream or some kind of high fat sauce. And if you look at the macronutrient profile of a bell pepper stuffed with beef and then you top it up with sour cream, you're looking at high amounts of saturated fat, right? And I'm pretty sure I'm skipping here, but what the research has shown is that high amounts of consumption of saturated fats and refined carbohydrates is what leads to insulin resistance, which is the underlying cause of type 2 diabetes, right? Now, in our book, the way that we have modified this recipe to make it more plant predominant is that instead of beef, we are stuffing the bell peppers with lentils and quinoa. And instead of sour cream, we are using a cashew-based sour cream. So that is, in turn, reducing the amount of saturated fat. It is naturally increasing the fiber of that meal, and you're eating whole food, plant-based right there on that recipe alone. And actually, it's not just this recipe, Robert, but every single recipe of this book is going to fall within those parameters of high fiber, low saturated fat. And if you start eating this dietary pattern consistently, you are going to naturally reduce your fat intake and increase your whole complex carbohydrates and fiber, which in turn are going to reverse the root cause of this condition.
I'm looking at the recipe as you're talking about it, and I think that's got to be my next one that I'll try. It does really look amazing. So can you guys talk a little bit about calorie density and making better food choices? Because you talk about that in your book.
Absolutely. We wanted to really explain what calorie density was versus nutrient density. And basically, what calorie density refers to is going to be foods that are high in calories, as the name implies, and relatively low in nutrients. And nutrients, I'm talking about things like fiber, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients. So, examples of calorie dense foods are going to be things like ultra processed foods like chips, baked products, processed meats like sodas, things like that. So those are going to be calorie dense foods. And why they're not very good for our health is because, well, they're very calorie dense, and eating too many calories can lead to weight gain, and having excess body fat is a big risk factor for insulin resistance. And then also, they are very hyper palatable. So what that means is that we consume a lot of them without really getting much satiation. So we can eat more, and it leads to more calories, and it can lead to, again, that excess weight gain. So what we want to do with our book is and our method is really focusing on the opposite of that, which is nutrient density. So it's basically foods that are really high in nutrients. So again, they're going to be high in vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants, and lower in calories. So you can actually eat so much more of these foods, and they're going to keep you full for longer. So you're not going to be looking for food shortly after consuming a meal with nutrient-dense foods. And nutrient-dense foods are going to be things like fruits and vegetables, of course, whole grains, legumes, which are beans, tofu, peas, and then also nuts and seeds. So we advocate for more of that nutrient dense diet because, again, it helps to keep you full, it helps to maintain a healthy body weight, and it's full of so many great nutrients that are beneficial for our overall health. It's actually a pretty common misconception that people think it's very expensive to eat this way, but the reality is it's not. It's actually cheaper a lot of the times to eat more plant-based than it is to eat more meat-based, because meat is pretty expensive, whereas plant-based proteins such as beans and lentils are so cheap. And there was actually a study done, and we talked about it in the book, where they actually looked at the different prices of diets, and they found that more of a vegan plant-based dietary pattern was in fact cheaper.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of confusion when it comes to eating vegan and the processed vegan products that do tend to be expensive. And eating a vegan diet is not the same as eating a plant-based whole food diet. A vegan diet can include chips, soda, Oreo, so on, but it can also be unhealthy. You can be choosing the Impossible burgers. You can be choosing like I said, chips or cookies. You can be choosing the just egg, which is an egg replacement, and so on, right? So if you
Right.
pick those foods, it can get expensive. But if you stick to the main food groups of a plant-based whole food diet, which are fruits, whole grains, legumes, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, then by all means, you're gonna not rack up the bill that you
Mhm.
would otherwise do on a highly processed vegan diet.
Yeah, I think it is a misconception. And I
Mhm.
think you make it very clear in your book. I'm curious, what's your earliest food memories? I mean, when you guys were growing up,
Oh gosh.
what were the food and dishes that you remember maybe a mother or a grandmother made that takes you back to your childhood?
Wow, that's a very good question, and I've been in so many podcasts, and this is the first time that I get it. So, thank you, Robert. And what came to my mind is my grandma from mom's side, who is about to be 90 years old. She's very healthy, walks every single day, and I feel like she was that figure to follow for me when it comes to striving for health in my life. And one thing that I remember is the morning smoothies that she would make
Mm,
for us. She would just
Wow.
pack those things with vegetables, with fruits, and there was a signature thing that she would put in it, which was alfalfa. I don't know if it's a thing here in the United States. I'm originally from Peru, but it's a kind of like a sprout that she would just put in this smoothie. She would say
hmm
this thing would make us healthy, and it didn't taste so good on like when she would put it in a smoothie. But that is my first memory of something
Interesting.
that like was given by that figure of health in my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
yeah,
Diana, how about you?
Yeah, mine's definitely not so healthy as close as smoothies. So my mom's side of the family is Puerto Rican, and I actually grew up part of my life there. And my one of my early memories of a dish that my grandma would make was piñón, it's called, and it's basically a Puerto Rican lasagna made with
Mm,
ground meat, green beans, and plantains. And that was one of her signature dishes, and we would eat that a lot. She would make it for us all the time. And so, I mean, that is a very cultural
hmm
dish, very traditional dish. And so that I would say is definitely one of my memories growing up for sure.
hmm Yeah. I grew up in a Jewish home, and my mother and grandmothers made lots of traditional Jewish dishes like potato latkes around
Mhm.
Hanukkah. But isn't it interesting that those food memories bring you back
yeah,
to, and I think food does that. Food brings you, transports you to all kinds of places. And so I'm excited that, the diabetes revolution might be that for some people, might help them to, find a pathway to health.
yeah.
So
I
I'm excited
I
about that.
agree.
So what do you think? What do you think is? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I agree with you
You're
fully,
just
Robert.
agreeing.
And and one thing
Yeah.
else that I wanted to mention is that one thing that we paid attention here on this book is the photography. We really wanted people to eat through their eyes as well. So we put a lot of effort into these pictures really looking
hmm
tasty. So people would be eating through their mouths and then tasting the delicious food that
Yeah.
this whole food dietary pattern can be, but
Yeah.
also through their eyes by the pictures that we have taken.
Yeah. They are really good. As we talked earlier, I did make the black bean burgers, and they were absolutely amazing, and the recipe worked really great. And I think it's now a favorite for some of my grandkids. Hey, in your mind, what do you think the biggest challenge diabetics face regarding eating today?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is misinformation. I would say that when somebody gets diagnosed with type 2 diabetes nowadays, like Diana mentioned, first of all, they don't get the information that they're supposed to be getting from their physicians, right? So the first thing that they do is turn to social media or to Dr. Google. And the first thing that they're going to find out is, oh, go ahead and follow a low carb, high fat diet. They scroll a little bit further down and they see, go ahead and
Right.
follow a high carb, low fat diet. let's scroll a little bit more. Go ahead and follow a carnivore
Right.
diet. Go ahead and follow this. Go ahead and follow that. So that is a misinformation that then leads to analysis paralysis. Then leads to not doing anything, not picking any diet, not picking a dietary pattern that suits them. And then they might just feel discouraged and not actually change their lifestyle the way that they're supposed to in order to improve their health. And then they can let go for maybe 2 or 3 more years after diagnosis. And unfortunately, type 2 diabetes is a condition that if you don't do something right away, it is going to be getting worse and worse and worse if you don't change your lifestyle habits. So I would say that is the biggest enemy right now for somebody living with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah. And I have another one too. And I think this is not just specific to people with diabetes, but I know a lot of people. I mean, we just had we run these diabetes reset challenges with it's like small group coaching. And the one thing they all said that they really struggle with is finding the time to make healthy meals. So I think time is a big one. Like we live in such a world where we have so many things going on, and sometimes making healthy food falls lower on our to-do lists. So I think time is a big one, but we urge people like make cooking a priority. That should be one of your top priorities because health is everything. Your health is everything, right? And so just by dedicating a little bit of time on Sunday just to do some basic meal planning and meal prepping can really set you up for success for the following week.
And what I like about the diabetes revolution is this is a lifestyle way of eating, not a fad diet. I was just on a call with some folks, and they were talking about the new year coming up and what diets are out there and what all this kind of like. And I hate the word diet. I especially hate that the first 3 letters of the word diet. And for me, I just have a very difficult time on a diet because it's not lasting. So for me, it's always been a lifestyle way of eating, the same all year round, with exercise, seeing a doctor, and living a lifestyle that's doable for you. And certainly things like prepping and cooking and learning those skills are, I think, essential for some of that. And this is not complicated, as you know. Your recipes they don't have 10,000 ingredients, and they're simple and easy to follow, like my recipes are. So I applaud you for that, for sure.
Thank you, Robert. I fully agree with you. The word diet just sounds like restriction, like momentary restriction, something that I want to do for a month, 2 months, and then go back to my old eating habits. The word that we like to use is dietary pattern, right? That more encompasses more of like, this is what I eat most of the time. But if I fall off this line, doesn't matter. I can go back to my dietary pattern any other time of the day, any other day, and continue living the healthy lifestyle that I'm living nowadays.
And I just want to say too, like you said, I think a big part of making this approachable is easy recipes. Like that's why we did that with our book. We wanted to make, and Kos and I aren't chefs, like we're not trained culinary experts whatsoever. And so we wanted to make this book very approachable to people so that they could actually implement this dietary pattern, right? And so we wanted to pick ingredients that you could find at your local grocery store and just simplify things because people have so much going on in their lives, and we wanted to make it as easy and simple as possible for people.
I think you hit that on the target, 100%. Nice job, you guys. So when we're about to play a game, we're coming to the end of our moments here. I wish we could have dinner tonight together. I would love to chat with you more. Where can people find your book?
They can find our book wherever books are sold online. So Amazon, Walmart, Target, Barnes and Nobles, and then it's also carried in some local independent bookstores. And then to follow us online, we are on all social media, almost every social media platform. So Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and it's the same handle. We made it nice and easy. It's just Type 2 Diabetes Revolution.
Excellent. Well, anything else you want to say to the happy diabetics listening before we get into our amazing game? Anything else you want to add?
just want to say that, I mean, for anybody who is listening and is currently struggling with high blood sugar, that there's hope out there, that gaining this information right now through this podcast, through our social media platforms, is giving you the tools that you need in order to go ahead and change your lifestyle. And as if you do, and you do it consistently, you are going to see results, the results that you want to see, and improve your quality of life now and for the years to come. There is hope. Don't think that this has to be a chronic progressive disease that you're going to have for the rest of your life.
I mean, not only is there hope, but you have presented a doable plan.
Yes.
Which I think is super exciting. Okay, well, thank you guys for being on the podcast. When we come back, we're going to play the rapid fire 4-1-1 game. Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Yes.
There's big prizes coming your way. Okay, everybody, stay tuned. We will be right back. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Diana and Jose are in the kitchen with us today, about to play the rapid fire 4-1-1 game. We're going to wrap it up with a little bit of fun. Here's how the game is played. I will ask you guys a series of rapid fire questions, and you simply choose your preference, like butter or olive oil, riding a bike or hiking, cats or dogs. Yep, okay. You guys got it?
Okay.
Perfect.
Here we go. Olive oil or coconut oil?
Olive oil.
Olive oil.
Mango or pineapple?
Mango.
Mango.
Waffles or pancakes?
Pancakes.
Broccoli or Brussels sprouts?
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts.
Okay. Chunky or smooth peanut butter?
Chunky.
Smooth.
Chunky all the way. All right. Valentine's Day or St. Patrick's Day?
Valentine's
Day.
Okay. Your chocolate chia pudding or your fudgy brownies?
Fudgy brownies.
Okay, I'm trying that one next. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Superhero or supervillain?
Superhero.
Roller coasters or merry-go-rounds?
Roller coaster.
Merry-go-round.
Okay, me too.
Because I have a 11-month-old now.
Yeah, I'm a merry-go-round guy the whole time. All right, here we go. Our last question. Finally, if you could break bread with anyone, past, present, who would that be? Who would you want to have dinner with?
That is such a good question. I haven't really thought about that one.
I mean, I would say my grandfather, just because he was taken away too early, and I would love to have dinner with him again.
Yeah, that's a great.
I was very close with him.
That's a great one. Mine would be to have dinner with a Roman emperor. Not really a specific one. It could be any. I feel like I have a lot of questions about that era, and I have really gotten into it lately. So I don't know. I think it will be pretty cool.
Well, if we could make any of that happen, I would love to cook for you guys. Just so you know.
Great. You are more than invited to cook for me and the Caesar.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for being on the podcast. It's been my absolute privilege and honor and joy to share the amazing work you're doing with all the happy diabetics out there. And I look forward to maybe meeting you in person one of these days.
That would be awesome, Robert. Thank you very much for having us. This was very, very fun.
Oh,
yeah.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much,
welcome.
Robert.
Okay, everybody, stay tuned. We will be right back. If you're loving what you hear in the kitchen, please share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone you know living with diabetes, type 1, type 2, or my favorite, the type 3, that wonderful, loving support person. Please leave a comment or feedback wherever you listen. It's super important. So I know exactly what you like and how I can make this the best podcast ever. Please reach out to me at my website, happydiabetic.com. Hit the contact link and share a recipe or a comment or a question. We want you to live your best happy diabetic life. Thanks again for listening. This podcast is not intended to replace any professional medical advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the Happy Diabetic Kitchen. Always seek medical advice from a registered certified dietitian, diabetic educator, or your doctor. I'm not a dietitian, a certified diabetic educator, or a doctor of any kind. Although I have 3 children, Attila, Dracula, and Frankenstein, that makes me a psychiatrist of sorts. Always consult your medical professional when making any changes to your lifestyle, diet, medication, or anything going on with your diabetes. The Happy Diabetic Kitchen is made from scratch, seasoned with love, cooked to perfection. Our theme music is by the Happy Diabetic Kitchen Band, and of course our kitchen mascots, our kitty cats, Scout and Tucker, who seem to always be wondering where their next meal comes from or taking a nap. And please remember this: this year better than last year, this month better than last month, this week better than last week, and this day, today, better than yesterday. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and let me leave you with this thought. Perfect for the holiday season, Chef Guy Fieri once said, "Cooking with kids is just not about ingredients, recipes, and cooking. It's about harnessing imagination, empowerment, and creativity." Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and remember this: happy holidays. No one loves you more than me.